Alien Romulus is directed by Fede Alvarez and tells the story of a group of space cadets who end up finding a ship and trying to scavenge for parts, but in doing so, they get face to face with one of the most terrifying creatures ever to have been created. This film is fantastic. I gotta say, Fede Alvarez, my God, is he in his bag in this movie. A little bit of a backstory with that too is I thought that Fede Alvarez was responsible for the horrible Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that came out on Netflix a couple years ago, but it was my chagrin that he did not direct that movie because God, I hate that movie. But no, he is actually responsible for movies like Don't Breathe, the first movie, which I found very effective and did not need a sequel whatsoever. And honestly, a really well-respected remake of an original IP, Evil Dead. Seeing as he is a seasoned director in the horror genre, it was fun to see the kind of different takes that he could potentially do with this movie because, as most people know, it's kind of like when you are revisiting a franchise as storied as Alien, for example, there's a lot of different things that people have done in these movies, and it's like, what are you going to do that's going to make your film stand out compared to the rest of the movies? That's something that I always look for with remakes or an addition to a franchise. And I gotta say, he puts a spin on a lot of different things that I found great enjoyment out of. You're gonna find things in this movie that kind of expand a little bit on the lore per se of the xenomorph. They do a lot of cool, fun, neat things that hasn't been done before and kind of shows the grotesque sort of reality that is this life form and what these people are going up against. So it was really fun to see that. There's a bunch of awesome scenes in this with the horror. The suspense is done extremely well. I love the first Alien movie much more than the second Alien movie, Aliens. Not to say that I don't think Aliens is a bad movie, I just personally prefer the first movie over the other. I love the isolated incident, and I love how kind of encapsulated that everybody is in the first movie. That's what kind of draws me into that. It's like you're in this one spaceship and there's nothing else going on, and they're going to be terrorized by this weird alien life form. This takes it back to those roots while also mixing in a little bit of that Aliens flair. So I love how the close-ups there are in this movie. I love how it just makes it feel like a tight space basically the whole time, and you're almost suffocated in this spaceship that they're in. And there's also a flair of Aliens with some of the action sequences that do happen in this movie. And honestly, my biggest positive out of this movie is the characterization that they have for pretty much everybody here. You get a lengthy amount of time to meet the entire crew that is going to be arriving on this abandoned spaceship, and it does just that. It expands everybody's characterization really well. It makes you care for everybody, or even if you don't care, at least your understanding of how these people are going to act, how they kind of interact with one another. So it's a really fun dynamic to watch because a lot of these horror movies sometimes don't get that right, where it's just yeah, these people are specifically, going to just die in this movie. And some of the people, kind of designed that way intentionally. That's a horror movie, for example. That's why we go see these things. But it's always nice to get the characterization for the people that you want to live and how to see their relationships kind of intertwine. More specifically, between Cailee, Spaeny, and David Jonsson playing as Rain and Andy. These two are the main protagonists in this film, and their dynamic is shown at the very beginning and throughout the entire film. And they play beautifully off of each other. It was a character dynamic that I really enjoyed. The duo play off each other extremely well, and I was so stoked to see that, honestly. And also gotta praise the fact that the props and the practical effects that they use in this film are on full display. I think horror films do this stuff a lot better than most other genre films. They just have so much more ideas and creativity to kind of go along with the props that they use, and it shows because the xenomorph looks cool as hell in this movie, and all of the other face huggers and everything like that. It's just fun to see. It's a really fun watch at the end of the day. Although I do have some minor negatives with this movie, more specifically with the CGI at some points in this film. There's a specific situation where the CGI is kind of cut back to a lot with a specific person, I shall say, and it doesn't really do it justice throughout the entire movie. And it sucks because it's kind of a major subplot point in this film. It kind of keeps the tension along with the movie even when the xenomorph is not on screen. So to see that kind of be a little bit of kind of you're taken out of the moment almost in the film. It hurts it slightly. And I do think the runtime is just a tad bit too long. I probably would have preferred this to be about 10 to 15 minutes shorter than what it is, but it's not the biggest negative of the world. It's just some of the parts in the movies, they feel kind of meandering and doesn't feel as important as you think they should be. So that's just one of the few things where it's like it kind of could have been tightened up just a little bit. But outside of that, I loved almost everything else about this movie. I thought that this was a great return for the franchise, even though I've only seen the first two movies in Alien versus Predator, the first one. So I haven't really been exposed to a lot of the worst films that they had done. I know that Alien has kind of a sketchy track record at points throughout its filmography, much like The Predator, but it also kind of, mirrors it a little bit because this film was also rumored to have come out on Hulu, much like Prey did, and I absolutely loved Prey. So it was nice to see that this film was able to go into theaters and show that if you just do like a really good horror flick of Predator or Alien, people will go and watch it. It is a great movie. Like, if you just give them good content, people will go and see it. I'm going to give Alien Romulus 4 stars. Thank you guys so much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. Please check the links down below where you can see all my socials where I talk about movies on various different platforms. And I will talk to you all next time.